Outliers. We are jamming here on the Outlier Edge podcast here, where we have a roundtable of incredible individuals for you. And I have to say, before I continue going on, thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey. So today we have an incredible roundtable for you with five awesome outliers who are all in their own ways elevating their impact, their income, and their integrity through their personal brands and the things that they bring to life on a regular basis. I'd love for you to get to know these outliers and we'll keep the conversation flowing from there. So why don't we start off with you, Nick? Would you mind letting us know more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Sure. My name's Nick. I am in New Jersey. I'm a firefighter, but I have my own website called the Firehouse Tribune. Just a personal blog with a few buddies of mine. We write articles on leadership, anything fire related, life related, to help people, whether you're a firefighter, first responder in some kind of way. I've also authored a couple books, spoke around the country, different fire service conferences, spoke at colleges in different parts of the country, help mentor students there, and just yeah, that's about it, man. That's all I have.
All right. Well, that as much as that's all you have, I also get that that's just the beginning of it all. So I'm
Will
excited
do.
to find out more about it from there. All right. Let us go over to Crystal. Crystal, would you mind letting us know more about you and the game you're playing?
Yeah, thanks, Niiamah. Appreciate, love being here. But yeah, my name is Crystal. I'm a certified life coach that specializes in helping women create a life they love. Through my own experiences and struggling to feel connected to who I was and the world around me, I learned the secrets behind creating a life that feels authentic and fulfilling to me. So the game I play now is teaching other women how to do the same thing. I'd say that my superpower is helping women feel empowered to be themselves and take action towards what they want and claim the life that feels authentic to them.
You said the A word, which is something that is really important in this space here, right? How do we
Yeah.
continue to create success as ourselves, as in an authentic way, in a way that lights us up and in a way that we love? And so, Crystal, I'm really glad that you're here and you're bringing that perspective into our conversation.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Why don't we get to know Tim? Tim, can you mind sharing more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Well, I'm Tim Lewis. I'm from London in the United Kingdom. I've played many games since sort of semi-retiring as an IT worker in about 2014. I've written 7 books, um, 5 of which were science fiction and fantasy. And at the moment, I run the Book Chat Live podcast and live show, which is live on Amazon, where I talk to people about their favorite books. I run another show where I just interview random people, basically. Oh no, not another live show. And I also have got a Substack where I talk about travel. And I've visited all 50 states despite being in the UK. And my last trip was to Southeast Asia for 6 weeks. So I've done a lot of things, played a lot of games, not necessarily very good at any of them, but that's part of life, really, isn't it?
Tim, I love this here because like I've been in all 50 states, and one of my beliefs, I believe that like something that brings us all together. So I'm like, if people in America got a chance to just go visit other people in America, it would be a completely different country. And so like it's really cool that that thing that I thought would be like a lot of work. You're like, yeah, I did it from across the pond. Like it's not that it ain't that big
Yeah,
of a deal.
my original idea was to try and do it before I was 50. It was the whole 50 by 50 thing. Unfortunately, COVID screwed that up, but I did it
Yep.
by 51. So
Nice, nice,
uh,
nice.
this year I finished Hawaii State 50 I visited.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, thank you. Thank you. You've already in this conversation started stretching what is possible here. And I love playing in this space with outliers. Y'all do a great job. Chris, why don't we get to know you? Tell us more about you and the game you're playing.
Hey everybody, I'm Chris Warden. I'm actually also a full-time firefighter, just like Nick, in the state of Michigan. I had some experiences growing up, and then I got into the fire service that kind of dictated the choices I would make. I've become a student of wellness and performance. I believe that when we prioritize our personal wellness, we can see levels of high performance in our life. And I'm trying to support that with education, getting my bachelor's degree, just about done with that, moving into my master's in performance psychology. And I really hope to continue to support firefighters like myself and Nick all across the country with education tools and just elevating them to believe in themselves and know that they can reach a little bit further than they are today.
I really appreciate that, Chris. Thank you for the work that you do. Like, thank you for like finding ways to keep building here. And I love the idea of performance and performance psychology because you're talking to a bunch of high performers, and I think that there's I look at the good and the cost, the bright side and the dark side with all this here today. Oh, outliers. We set you up with an awesome group of people. And now it's time for you to get to know Caitie so that we can round this all up. Caitie, would you mind letting us know more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Yes. So I am currently a podcaster and a blogger and a stylist at Neiman Marcus. So my podcast is basically about confidence. When I was in school, I learned that about 25% of women and 15% of men would give up to 3 years of their life to be their ideal body size. And that shocked me. And that was done in 2008. So I wanted to get everybody's confidence up a little bit just by talking about it and getting people starting to think about that. So that's really what my goal is.
Oh, I appreciate it. This is one of the things that's really cool. Like I bring together outliers, and I often like be talking about like impact and income and integrity. And one of the things that's just really awesome about everyone that comes on here is like on the impact side of things, y'all are playing. You're just like I know exactly like what I stand for in this world, and you're living it out, and that's why I invited you here. So any outliers that are listening, you are also a part of this conversation. Take the time to introduce yourself and remind yourself about the game that you're currently playing. We may not be able to hear you, but you're still a part of this conversation. Awesome. All right, so let's get to know each of you a bit here. I want to actually start off with Nick. I'll probably ask the next set of questions in the same order we were introduced. We'll see if that works or not. But let's start off with Nick here. Nick, I like to start off the conversation with an element of like mindsets and beliefs. Right? The people who are listening to this are constantly finding ways to like level up. It's not just about like, can I do the next thing, but can I actually go to the next level? And I'm curious for you, what are some beliefs? Let's actually just choose one. What's one belief that you needed to up level in order to play at the game that you play right now?
Mine had to be self-confidence. 100% had to be, like Crystal said earlier, authenticity. I was struggling with that for a long time, especially when I started the Firehouse Tribune. I was hiding behind that facade of the brand for so long that I never was myself. And I think me and Chris had this conversation on his podcast. And I said something like that when I had someone who mentored me. And I still use him to this day. He's one of my good friends. And just him having that conversation saying, just be you. Don't worry about the haters. Don't read the comments. Just be yourself. And if people are going to follow you because of the brand, that's wrong. They're going to follow you because you're being your true, authentic self on where you come from, not where you want people to think you come from. And since I did that, I start to see a huge change in my demeanor, my confidence, and just everything I've accomplished.
Nick, man, you hit me right here when you said like not where you want you want people to think you come from. And that subtle, it feels like so subtle there. Can I ask you honestly here? Because I think we know like we can read it, like we can read it, say like be authentic, be your authentic self. And yet there's something about that is not necessarily easy. So I'll frame it to you this way, Nick. In addition to the benefits you got from being yourself, what were like one or two costs? Like, what was the price you had to pay in order to show up as you?
Ripping off the Band-Aid of fear. That was the hard part. That was the cost I had. And knowing that I'm not going to make everybody happy, that I'm going to have to be myself. And in order to do that, I have to not be a yes man and also not be a nice guy. I had to be the good guy and do the right thing for the right reasons, and not just because somebody wanted me to do it, but because I truly believed it.
All right, well, thanks, Nick. Thanks for getting us kicked off in this way here.
No
Chris, I'm
problem.
going to come to you. You may have some things to say based on what Nick just said there, and I'm also curious about any beliefs that you up leveled.
Yeah. If I could choose one, it would be, I'm not good enough. I think that one, I had to go on my own journey to learn how to navigate. And I think a lot of people face that as well. It's I'm not good, I'm not smart enough, I'm not, I don't know all these different things, I'm not pretty enough, I don't have all these pieces together. And letting go of that and getting to the place where, because we've been having this conversation about authenticity, right? And authenticity really looks like bringing all of you with you and getting to the place where you say, hey, I'm good enough looks like I'm accepting every single part of me, the good, the bad, and sometimes even the ugly, and getting to that place. And that's where the up level came to me, where I didn't leave a portion of Crystal behind. I didn't leave like that 10% that we like to act like isn't there behind. That part came with me. I said, you guys are going to get everything. And that human element. And I think that people relate to that. And I think that's how we bond as humans. I think that's how we grow as humans. And so that's been the up level for me is moving from I'm good enough to I am enough. And that's what it looks like.
All right, so there's two places. What I wanted to ask you what I asked Nick about the cost here, but I want to just check in with you real quick. Like when you said that, something struck me where I used to have this thing where I'm like, I'm too much for people, right?
Ah,
If I'm being honest,
uh-huh,
I
uh-huh,
still have that,
uh-huh,
right?
uh-huh.
And what I was like, life is so cruel sometimes, where it's like I felt like I was too much, and at the same time, I'm not enough. And so when you
Mm-hmm.
say I'm not good enough, it got me to think about that there. And I'm curious for you, like, what was your flavor of like not good enough, and how did you like actually walk through that to play the game you play now?
Yeah, a lot of my journey and the different traumas and things that I've had in my life have had to do with a silence of my voice. So for me, the not good enough was my opinions aren't great. I'm going to put my voice, my opinion, who I am out there, and people are going to reject that. That's how it felt to me. So becoming an entrepreneur and getting to a place where I'm sharing words. I'm sharing who I am, what I think, what scares me, what brings me alive. Those are specific things for me that it took me time to find. What do I think about this? And do I care enough about myself and other people enough to say, this is what I think about this. And if you think this too, we're on the same frequency and you don't have to apologize for it. So even your piece about too much. It's like, what does that even mean? Right? Too much for who? Too much for what? I think all of those pieces are things that we tell ourselves that keep us from really deeply having a knowing of this is who I am and this is what I bring to the world.
That hits hard. That hits hard. I'm gonna thank you, Chris. I'm gonna come to Tim now and bring you in a bit more, Tim. Um, You have 7 books. You've done 50 states. Like you've been living through things. I'm curious here. What's a belief that you had to up level as you kept playing the game that you play?
Well, it's a variation on the one that people have already said, but the thing that I've realized is that everybody else is useless too. It sounds a bit of a weird British
Oh,
way
I
of saying
love
this,
that, by the way. Just thank you. Go ahead, Tim.
but I've met like people who are bloggers who've got millions of followers. I've been to lots of conferences. I met like really high profile people. And when you meet them in person, you realize for most things are as useless as everybody else. But there's one or two things that they're usually brilliant at. And also they've cut out a lot of the bad habits that a lot of us have. I mean, even if you consider something like finance, the number of people who don't pay off their credit cards every month, which is like a tremendously simple thing that people can do, but people don't do it. And it's not about thinking we have to look up at these heroes who've done every wonderful thing that you ever could think of, and then they become wonderful. Somebody like Barack Obama is going to be as useless for talking about blogging advice as the rest of us. But he's good at the politics side of things. So that's what you kind of have to appreciate and work out what your strengths are compared to everybody else. And you don't have to be the best in the world. You just have to be good at things, because most people are useless. So that's what I would say is my learning from my sort of 10-year magical mystery business journey so far.
You know, Tim, like as you said, I feel like a huge, like a part of me smiles, another part of me gets like there's this huge like sense of relief. I'm like, okay, yeah, like I can be useless in those other places. Like I don't, and I'm okay with that, right? Or at
Yeah.
least there's space for that because there's other people who are brilliant in it. And that actually like it creates actually more connection here. I'm like, what places are you useless? What places are you brilliant? All right, how can we play together now? Thanks for bringing that in here, Chris. Let's come to you on this here. Like, the same question kind of applies, but you've been hearing some responses. I've been seeing you like nod and things in here. I'm curious, like, what's coming to you right now as as part of this conversation.
Just sitting here listening to everybody, and it's there's a lot of humility, owning what we're useless at, and knowing where our strengths are. But for me, I really, 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 really had to confront the perfectionism narrative. Um, and I had to face that, and I still face it daily, but it was holding me back. It was giving me fear. It was creating doubt. It was ruining my self-confidence. This expectation of doing anything, and if it wasn't excellent, it didn't need to be done by me. It should be done by someone else, or I would fall short. And sitting with that, and trying to rewrite the narrative of how I perceived my effort was really, really important. And finding ways to accept and learn from failure or shortcomings, or being okay being a beginner, not knowing the next move. Um, so I would say for me, really fighting to get away from this idealistic perfectionism in everything that I did was probably one of the most beneficial things that I'm doing, and still working on. I really like what Tim said.
First, I want to just like thank you for acknowledging like the work is still being worked on. I think sometimes like the positioning of things is like I did it, I saw it, I came, I saw, I conquered, with these things here, and what I'm hearing is like this is ongoing here, and I just want to like really put that into space for us here, not just in this conversation, but for any outlier that's out there. Like we might have to just keep doing the work on it. But I feel the intentionality and rewriting that narrative. Can I just ask, when you said it twice, so I want to like get in here. Can
Yeah.
you help make that real for us? Like, what's one concrete way that you're actively rewriting the narrative for yourself?
Right. So there's for me, like, failing forward, right? So two they kind of go together, but the fear of failure prevents getting the rep, right? And Nick and I talked about sets and reps in a podcast we had together. But if you're not getting the reps, right? If you're too afraid to swing, you're never gonna get a better swing, because whether your swing is lousy or excellent on the first try, there's room for improvement. And the only way to know is to get in the arena. The only way to learn or get better is to put your neck out and risk getting your head chopped off, right? Obviously, we don't want to get our head chopped off, but the analogy goes, you have to risk a little to learn anything. And so that's getting the reps and not being afraid to fail. And then when we do fail, because failure is inevitable and it looks different for everybody, we have to learn and look and reflect and make time in our cycle of growth to look backwards and see, did I prepare? What did I do right? What should I do again? And what do I need to do differently next time?
All right, we're gonna play off this here, Chris. I appreciate you, Caitie. Let's have you answer that first question. It'll be like, well, everyone will get a chance to answer this one, and then we'll just kind of open it up. We'll just see where the conversation goes. So that you can respond to anything that you've heard so far if you'd like to, and just let us know like what's something about you a belief that you had that you up leveled in order to play at the level you're playing right now.
So for me, I think I'm going to quote Kelly Clarkson here, and she said, "You may not have a stage, but you always have a voice." And I think for me, I had to, as a lot of the other folks said, realize that it may already be being done, but it's not being done by me. And what I've learned from my podcast is each perspective is unique, even if it is being duplicated. And so I think in that respect, I just had to trust my own voice, and I had to know that what I was saying is special, and what I'm saying is unique. And that goes for anybody, like, even if you feel like it's already being done, it's not being done by you yet. And you have a specific voice, and you have a specific perspective that the world needs to hear. So I think getting over that hoop was the biggest thing for me.
Ooh, Caitie, now that you brought this in here, I'm seeing some nods. So I'm gonna like lead in a bit with it here. It may be being done, but it may not be being done by you. That feels really like exciting. And at the same time, so y'all don't know this, but my number one fear is being alone. Right. And so when I hear that question, I'm like, oh, there's excitement with being with everyone. And at the same time, like to be the person using your own unique voice, like gets my heart beating a couple of different times on top of it here. So I'm just going to open this up to you all here. Like everyone's gone around. We can just like unmute and let ourselves like flow a little bit here. But I'm curious about the uniqueness of what you do, like how you play in that space of leveraging your unique voice here. Because we all are in the game of lifting people up, even if it's like, not directly heads on. It might like through the books that we read and the places that we take people through it. So I'm very curious about how y'all like navigate your own unique voice here. Anyone want to jump in on that?
I'll go ahead, Nick.
Okay. So, go ahead. I'll go after you.
Okay. No, I was just gonna say, I think it's a step-by-step process and I know for myself, going from we go to school, we hear different, I mean, we were raised with our parents and all the different voices that we get on a daily basis, and we watch TV and we have the news and all of these different things. And I think navigating it is getting quiet and listening to your own voice and what you actually think about things, and then taking the bold step of putting it out there. And when you put it out there, it will most likely feel scary and vulnerable. But those are the emotions that I find is the trigger point of this probably means I'm on the right track. And then after some time, it becomes a second nature. You know what feels aligned to you and what doesn't feel aligned to you. You know what's true for you and what's not true for you. But I think that first place is that stuff of getting quiet, shutting out the noise, and then being brave enough to put your voice out there, even if it doesn't fully make sense.
Yeah, Crystal, I really think you're onto something there, and the getting quiet part really piqued my interest. And I know we as people, we tend to not necessarily find time for solitude, and it's often considered antisocial, or it's always been, in my life at least, when I've been quiet and drifted away and asked for private time, it's always been like, what's wrong? Are you mad? Are you upset? Someone hurt you, or are you angry? And no, I just need to be away from other people's perceptions and ideas in order to hear my mind and get that ability to think. So I think we say find time to be still and be quiet, but literally you have to pencil it in, close the door, and get away from people, whether that's going for a walk, sitting in the basement, whatever that looks like for you. But being away from other minds is very, very helpful. And it's been very helpful in my case too. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel that same aspect. Going back to what you guys were talking on, getting away from things, not always being so connected. because when you're 100% connected day in, day out to whatever your job is, you tend to lose yourself. You tend to lose where you're going, your direction, your path, and you're just going through the motions of the day, whatever that day is. We see that a lot now with phones. People are on phones all the time. They're connected to their work, their friends, their social media, all hours of the day and night. And when they take that step back, they realize they forgot who they were. They forgot that they have friends, family. And those are the things that ground you. Those things that bring you back to your regular self. And taking a step away from it all and just having that time with yourself to think about it once a week, every other week, once a day, a couple minutes is very important to anything you do in your life, in your and in your career. So, like Chris said, and Crystal said, you got to pencil it in at some point.
Yeah, I appreciate that there, Nick. Like, I'm gonna bring something in here. I think that there's some element of the conversation we're having that is really good with like the outlier side of things, right? Like of like being able to be you, be in authenticity, like and create some of the things that come along that way. Now I want to go to the edge, right? And so the edge for me like lives into like the place of like where's the edge of your comfort zone? What's the edge that you have? Tim, you talked about like the gifts and the brilliance that we had there. Like what gives you your competitive edge, you know? So I want to play a little bit into that. We're going to start off first though with a bit of like the edge of comfort because the people listening to this are consistently moving. They're not playing in like safe environments or not like not or let's say yeah, let me honor anyone who's not playing in a safe environment, or at least when it doesn't feel safe for them. And I think even this part of authenticity, asked about like the cost. I'm like, for me, it was a life or death thing. I was like, what if I go out there and people like get to see the real Niiamah? And I went for 20 years by the nickname of Nemo. So I was like, if people really went and saw the real Niiamah, what if they don't like me? And then I will be all alone. If I'm all alone, then I will die, you know, or they will not want to work with me because Nemo, like Niiamah is such a difficult name, so on and so forth. And so my livelihood would be over, so on and so forth. So I want to play a little bit into this part of the edge here. Like, would y'all mind sharing something right now that you're taking on that really excites you, but at the same time, like has you like completely, you know, you're just like it gives you sweaty palms. You're like it makes you uncomfortable. You're playing along with this here. I'm curious what comes to you. Caitie, for some reason, I'm drawn to you on this one here. If it's not for you, like you could just toss it back. But like, you have anything you want to put in on this?
Yeah, so I live in a very engineering type world and I'm a fashion girl. So I dress in mixed prints, all this big stuff in a t-shirt and scarf and jean world. So I feel very like I feel you on that because in my world it's a very like corporate world and I'm very much a creative type, and as a creative type our road isn't necessarily straight. It's very winding, it's very unsure about a lot of things sometimes, like referring to income and where you're going to get your next gig and your creativity in and of itself, being able to generate content and that sort of thing. And so I think in that respect that's kind of where I'm on the edge, is relying on my creativity to not like burn out. And I think that's also coming back to our previous conversation, is being able to spend time with your family and friends and yourself and take that self-care time that you need in order to recharge, because I think we live in a very fast-paced world, and living on the edge is part of that, I feel like. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think entrepreneurial guilt is a thing that a lot of us
yeah.
suffer from, where you feel you always need to be doing something. And this is especially bad for those guys, like the firefighter guys here, who've got like a full-time proper job as well. And then you probably feel, oh, I'm not done anything on my blog, or I'm not done anything on this. And it's like, well, in the old days, you wouldn't have done anything. You wouldn't have done this small business on the side. So we're always just being told to keep doing extra things. So to answer your kind of question, Niiamah, it was I'm kind of reining back a bit on the things I do because I've got too many things I want to do. And yeah, I think, and also you kind of need to pull back before you can do the really big things, because you need that extra energy to get through, or else you kind of start it and then you give up. So anyway.
Yeah, Tim, I think you make a great point with the retraction. Like it's a stick your neck out and do the work, and then you have to retract, right? Like in the fire service, we're playing a capacity demand game. Like the fire service requires X from everyone, and not everybody has Y capacity, right? We have to meet it, and just like you're saying, it's kind of like a wave where you're gonna stick your head out, work, and then pull back, retract, reflect, uh, rejuvenate, just kind of like the seasons. It's the fall season. It's almost time to hibernate, right? Come spring, we're going to be back out there going like gangbusters to make the next thing happen. Um, and I can relate to what you were saying. I had a podcast that I put off. Um, for probably 3 months, and I hadn't put one out for a while. And I just reached out to Nick to say, "Hey, man, I'm putting yours out soon." But there was one before that where we had a really serious conversation about fire and faith and that intersection there. And we talked about some things that were very personal to me, financial struggles, and some sexual trauma that happened to me when I was very little. I had to spend time with my therapist, decoding that, figuring that out before I even felt comfortable to release that podcast. And I released it this morning, actually. And it felt good, but
Yeah.
still like that ripple effect going through my body that I can feel is this the right thing? Is this bad? Am I going to be judged? Is it going to play out well? So that's something I had overcame the fear of and just had to let it go. But I'm in the retraction mode now. I'm pulling back and gonna just sit back and take care of myself and see what happens.
I appreciate you all here, like for bringing this in here. And Chris, when you talk about the retraction right now, just the component of not having to be on and always to all people like at all times,
Yeah.
like that's really coming to me. And um hey, let me just acknowledge you for pushing publish on this. Well, actually, no, there's a couple different things. The push and publish is me like acknowledging the accomplishment and the performance part of it. Let me acknowledge you for all the things that came beforehand. One, for having the conversation, whether or not it was going to get published. Two, for like being with your therapist and working through and like decoding and uncoding all that stuff there. I want to make sure that I really see you, not just like in like the action that was taken, but the person that you were being to put yourself in the position to then have to go and do like crap. There's even more work I need to do. Like it wasn't just there's so many different levels to it. And I want to make sure that I call that out because I think it can be overly glorified and just like, yeah, you went for it. It's like, no, there was, we're just seeing the culmination of a whole lot of work that were done and that you put yourself into to be in this space. So is there anything you want to say to that before I open it up a little bit more?
I think there were numerous days where that episode was not going to get published. There was I never considered deleting it, but there was a number of times where I was like, nah, this is not going anywhere. This is too much for me. My ego. Nobody wanted to hear it. There was all these negative self-talk things going through my head that I had to sit with and meditate on and kind of wrangle down to this will help at least one person. And if it helps me, great. If it helps another person, that's all I can ask for. So again, just getting out of my own way, saying perfectionism doesn't exist and I am human. I'm useless at many other things, but I think I have a story here. And I think someone else may benefit from at least seeing me admit and discuss my shortcomings and the things I'm afraid to say out loud.
I appreciate this year. Like this is part of the game, right? When we talk about the authenticity part, when we talk about this year, it's like there's the one part that could look really shiny, look really good, And then there's like everything else that makes us human, you know? Chris, I think you were talking about like the 10% that didn't get to like come along for the ride. I'm curious what you are experience like what your experience has brought to you, um, and how you use that. I still want to play on the place of the edge. So like how you're using that like authenticity to like continue to step out into the unknown for yourself.
Yeah, and I think piggybacking off of what Chris was saying a little bit about just that retraction and there is like that ebb and flow, because I think personally for me and my experiences just as a person, I've been through sexual traumas as well, and have been diagnosed with complex PTSD and had to go through, EDMR and all the treatments for that. And so I first lesson had to learn how to be on the edge and the discomfort of myself. It's a very challenging thing to confront painful things in your past and parts of yourself that walked away not completely whole, and going on the through the journey and process of and I think that circles back around to what I was talking about before with the I'm not enough and all of those pieces. And I think that today, what I really focus on is those pieces that don't feel necessarily complete, those pieces that feel still a little bit broken. I just have ridiculous, reckless compassion for, and remind myself always that it's not just about me. I want to chase after people the way that I chased after myself, that those sections that kind of get left to the side that I don't like to really talk about. I like to chase after other people in that way as well. And I think my way of doing that is just being transparent and as vulnerable as it can feel sometimes about here's the journey that I've been on. If you've been on that journey as well, there are others here that are with you and for you and have seen what that looks like. And those are the edge points. That's the edge of myself every day. And it looks different every day, because we're human and different things pop up all the time. But yeah, I think that's what it's looked like for me. And that gets stressed all the time because I find something new all the time that I didn't know was there. But yeah.
That's awesome. I'm going to bring another question just a bit, but anyone else have anything else they want to say on this before we go? All right, cool. You know, so right now this is gonna be one of our last questions of the day, but I like y'all are each very accomplished in what you do, right? You're not like you've been playing at the game. You found ways to create the books, make the podcast, bring in the clients, so on and so forth. And I want to acknowledge each of you for that here. I'm curious about what's a project that you're taking on now that actually like feels like it's pushing you to that next level. Another way of looking at this is like how are you creating yourself right now for whatever that next level is, and give outliers a chance to see like some of what you're building, some of what's going on in your world here, just because like we're a bunch of givers and we love being around people who are doing awesome things, even if that awesome thing is working on themselves. So why do I think this one feels like a go around. So Nick, why don't we start with you and we'll just go around.
Oh man, what am I building on? I'm always building on myself. That's one thing, I couple things. I wear a whoop strap, or whoop strap if you've ever heard of it. I look at my sleep, I look at my recovery, look at my workouts, everything I do every single day, and I journalize it in my whoop strap, and I utilize that as part of my second book, my workbook that's based on my book, The 5 Tool Firefighter, as part of my fitness plan. And I use that to kind of almost kind of like see how I'm feeling each day, what I'm able to accomplish, how I'm able to do things based on how I recovered from yesterday's performance in whatever I've done. Um, but other than that, I took my book, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build a workshop for it, which is pretty hard because I have one scheduled in a couple months. And it's 4 hours. So the hardest part is trying to put myself back into the book and how I'm gonna be able to make an interactive, not a lecture, but an interactive course for 4.5 hours, 4 hours or so, on various topics, and to a whole group of firefighters that 4 hours in a room with a bunch of firefighters is the hardest thing to do. So trying to do that and make it authentic and real is a challenging task all in itself. And to find time to do it, that's another thing.
I'm glad you brought that in here. Getting some smiles in here, Nick. If I could toss anything else from my experience, breakouts and having in small groups go a long way in that kind of experience there. Let's keep playing. Yeah. We'll have more conversations. We'll keep on. Say it again.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. We'll keep going. That was unsolicited, by the way. Outliers know that just came. Crystal, let's go to you. Like, what you got going on?
Yeah, so I primarily work with women one-on-one, and I hadn't really broken out of that mold. But the next venture for me now is I've really felt called to speak on a larger level and speak to major organizations. So I'm now in talks with different business models to really coach their organizations and other fellow entrepreneurs on life, on daily life, on the things, not just business related, but navigating all those different pieces that happen outside of business. Talking to tech companies about coaching their organizations. So I'm moving into this one-on-one to one-to-many, and it's an exciting time and it's a scary time. I have not done that before, but I'm looking forward to the challenge. And once again, like we were talking about, getting to the edge of my comfort zone. I do like to jump off of cliffs and just see what happens. So it'll be one of those kind of ordeals, but it'll be fun and it'll be an adventure.
Oh, indeed. Oh, I love this here. Tim, let's go to you, and then we'll go to Chris.
Well, I've kind of got a fairly mundane. I'm trying to cut costs a bit in my business at the moment, and one of them is the software I use for streaming, StreamYard, have hiked up all their prices. So I'm currently looking for alternatives to that at the moment. I think I found a few free ones which are good. On the much bigger jumping off the cliff scale, at some point I'm looking at moving maybe to somewhere in the Far East. So maybe Bangkok or somewhere like that eventually. Though that's a long way to go. And I mean, they always say like, oh, you build your parachute on the way down, but they never tell you about the people who splattered in the remains in the bottom of the thing who didn't make it to the bottom. So I'm mindful of that. But I think that is where eventually I will get to, because it's a lot cheaper to live in somewhere like Bangkok as opposed to London. And it's also a much more better business environment as well. So that's probably where I'm going to move ultimately, but that's a way away yet. I need to get my courage up first for that.
I like the way you play the game, Tim. I spent 4 years in Singapore, so
Yeah.
I'm like it's a lovely part of the world out there. Awesome. We'll go to Chris, then we'll go to Caitie, and then we're gonna wrap up for today.
Great. So I have a little bit of a nuanced approach to it. In my self work, I know that I play roles, right? There's me, then there's the roles that I fulfill for other people in my life. And a man of service, I'm trying to fulfill those roles to the best of my ability. So working on myself as a firefighter, right? I'm reading, training, staying fit. As a husband, finding ways to be present, show up for my wife in the way that she needs, speak her love language. Am I excellent at that? No, but we are working on that, right? We're trying to get there. I am trying to build my own coaching and support system for firefighters and people in high stress, high performance jobs. I have HP, or high performance wellness solutions.com. And it's a brand that isn't even ready yet, because I mean, it's ready, but I'm still educating myself. I'm still chasing those certifications, probably getting stuck in that perfectionist trap. Will I ever be ready? No, but I'm there and I'm available. And then ultimately it comes back to maintaining my personal mind, body, and spirit, staying operational ready, and what that means to me, getting sleep, staying hydrated, maintaining high levels of fitness to go work and then come home and still have the resilience to be what my family needs for me. So as far as that goes, I'm always working on me, which means wherever I am, hopefully I can show up and have a positive impact on those around me.
Well, thank you, Chris. Like, you got me thinking about some things. Caitie, we're going to come to you. Wrap us up on this, and then we're going to close up for the entire session. Thank you.
Yeah, mine's kind of mundane, I guess. I wrote a screenplay and I'm trying to enter it into competitions. And that's very scary. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm living on the edge. So
I love this shit. I love hanging out with outliers. I'm like, mine's a little mundane. I wrote a screenplay. Like, hey, well done. Well of you here. And thanks for bringing that in. Like, I love like outliers. I'm going to talk to you right now. Like, we're all playing the game. And like, I'm going to ask you, like, in which way are you stepping out? How are you going out into your comfort zone? And the answer is, I'm not doing it right now. Like, let's look into that. See if we want to shake up with it. Look, we're coming to a conclusion in this conversation, and like before we do that, I want to make sure that like I speak to you outliers and ask you for a favor. This like I would love for you to join us in our one person, one conversation at a time initiative, where all we ask is that you find one person in your life who would really benefit from hearing this conversation and being a part of it as well, and share this episode with them. My thoughts, yes, you can share it on your emails and your platforms and all that stuff. Like that'd be wonderful, absolutely. But I think that there's something about like talking to someone's heart and saying, I heard this and I thought of you, and making their day better because you're like by giving them this very simple gift of an episode. All right. So my ask is that you join us in that initiative, one person, one conversation at a time, and just share this over them. All right. So I'm coming back into here with everyone here. We have about like 2 minutes, and I want to make sure that we give people a chance to know how they can continue down the game with you. All right. The way that we do this here is that we share the best way for people to like continue like contacting you. Where's the best place for them to do that? And then we also share an insight that you got from any part of this conversation. If you didn't get an insight, the insights like for you, outliers have gotten what they need. So if you didn't get an insight, that's totally fine. Just be like, I didn't get anything from it. It's thumbs up. And if you do, like share with us what that would be. All right. So we're going to close off here. We're going to go and like reverse the order of what I think I've been doing. So we're going to go into Caitie first, and then Chris.
So best way to get in contact with me, right?
Yep.
CAITIEM as in mom 93 at gmail.com is a good email for me. And I've learned that we're all in this together and we all are unique in our own way, yet useless in our own way. So, and I love that. So that's kind of what I got out of it, and that we're all, you know, just living life one day at a time. One special day at a time.
Thank you so much for that, Caitie. Chris, how about you? We'll go to Chris and then we'll go to Tim.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me on. If anybody is interested in getting in touch with me, you can go to hpwellnesssolutions.com. Just join there. You can send me a message. Check out the Priority Traffic podcast. We talk about high performance challenges of firefighters and hopefully can support everybody. The one thing I've learned, and I kind of know it, but this reinvigorated the knowing, is that who you surround yourself with matters. And having these people with us today, I can feel it in my body. The positivity, the motivation, just the right vibration of the people around you will change your life, either for the good or the bad. So just really pay attention to who has access to your energy.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, go ahead, Tim, please. And then Crystal.
Yeah, you can contact me at Stoneham Press, which is confusing because it's not anything to do with my name, which is my publishing company name, which is my Twitter and Instagram and Threads handle. Or you can email me at timlewis@stonehampress.com, or you can find me on Substack as Tim Lewis TCF for travel, conferences, and fiction. I think I never really defined what the F stood for. And what I've got out of today is I should really write. I've been thinking of writing a book about like everybody else is useless too for ages and never got around to it. So I think maybe I should actually get around to actually trying to write that book because I think it'd be useful.
The irony is not lost. Crystal and then Nick.
Yes. To continue getting into my world, Instagram is a really great way. You can follow me at Crystal Morgan Coaching, and that's Crystal spelled Crystal, like crystal ball. You can also email me info@crystalmorgancoaching.com. And my insight for today, I think I'm going to echo what everybody else kind of has been saying, which is when we get in conversations like this, I think it further solidifies our authenticity. We don't realize who we are until we get in the context of other people and the conversations that we're having. And it's just such a beautiful reminder of, to what Chris said, same vibration, same frequency. It helps us know we're not alone and to continue fighting to find the right people to surround ourselves with.
Thank you. And Nick? So I think, can you just unmute yourself really quickly?
Oh, there it is. Didn't even realize it was on. Oh, well, thanks for having me on. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate everything. You can find me at Instagram, FH Tribune. It's the Firehouse Tribune Instagram handle, or the Firehouse Tribune at gmail.com. The two best places you can reach out to me, and also my podcast, The 5-Tool Firefighter. What I take away from this is what everyone else said. You know, what Tim said. We're all useless in some kind of way. But at the same time, going back, just being able to be in a room with people and talking builds us up and really realizes that we're all on the same journey, just in a different way. And we're all trying to, you know, somehow get to this finish line of our pot of gold that we never know if we're going to get.
Well, thank you all for like running the race. I see you all here. Thanks for hopefully rejuvenating with us here. And outliers, just know this here. We're ending up this conversation, but the conversation continues in you. I feel like a Mufasa kind of thing right there. But but more than anything else, just remember that to go out into the world and be you on purpose. Thanks again, and journey on.